Texas Podcast Massacre contains spoilers and adult language. For more horror, visit us at our website at texaspodcastmassacre.com.
Welcome to another episode of Texas Podcast Massacre, coming to you from Houston, Texas. I'm your host, Mitch, and with me, as always, is the other half of my gruesome twosome, I guess, Nate.
Hey, Mitch, how's it going?
It's going good.
Yeah, I mean, it's usually it's a gruesome twosome, but this time it's a gruesome threesome.
We're back. I know we often do have a gruesome threesome. Lisa, of course, is still on her maternity leave, really enjoying it. Really, just glad she's not watching horror movies. So
I think when we have guests, though, I think we should wait till later in the episode to just say this is a gruesome threesome. I don't want to put our guests off in the future.
Oh, that's I don't think our guests will have a problem with that this time. So our guests, we have the pleasure of interviewing Terry Wickham, who is the writer, director, filmmaker, does it all, with a new movie coming out called Gruesome Threesome. Also some other movies that we're going to talk about, The Devil's Five, Stash, Abandon, and Double Vision, I think is the newest one. So we're going to talk about all those. Now we're mainly focusing on Gruesome Threesome because I think that comes out October 2nd. Now where is that going to be available when it does come out?
That's going to be available on demand on Vimeo.
Very cool.
Yeah, so it's I don't know how other filmmakers are doing this, but I just find for myself today's, and I don't mean to jump ahead and start talking a lot or whatever, but distributors today don't really pay filmmakers money up front, and a lot of times you never even see any money. So I really think that it's time for the filmmakers to take hold of their own work. And with the DIY society, do-yourself society, I just think it makes sense for me to control the film. I see the profits. I can give it out to whoever I want to, from producers, etc., and not have to audit these guys later on and never get paid and pay expensive lawyer fees. Doesn't make sense at this point.
Yeah, very cool. And no worries about. I mean, that's all we do is talk a lot. So you're in very good company. Just jump right on in. Yeah, we ain't fancy here. So you, I know you've been doing movies for a long time. So you said, I think prior to us rolling, you've been working on movies for 30 years. So has it always been directing? Has it always been writing and doing your own thing? Or
yeah, and I guess and how did you get started? Yeah. I mean, interested to hear that.
Well, really, I guess the way it got started going way back was in 1978. I was a kid, obviously, young kid, and I saw John Carpenter's Halloween. And at that time, I was not a filmmaker. I was not a director. But the movie impacted me so much that the next day, I remember I was playing baseball, not a game, but with friends. And I was pitching to some of my friends. And I remember I couldn't shake the images of Michael Myers coming out behind Jamie Lee Curtis in the hallway of the house at the end, on the sidewalk at the school. And it stayed with me so much. And I remember after that movie, I didn't know I wanted to be a director, but I started to want to get more interested in like filmmaking. Mm-hmm. At first, back at that time, special makeup effects were really big, whether it was Tom Savini and Dawn of the Dead, Friday 13th, you had Dick Smith, Rob Bottin, Rick Baker, all these guys. Mm-hmm. So when I first started, I started thinking I wanted to be a special makeup effects artist, but I really didn't have a lot of money. I was a really good artist. I could actually sculpture, but I didn't have like the materials to make latex masks, molds, all this stuff. So at first I thought it was makeup, but as I started to learn about filmmaking a little bit, I then saw John Carpenter's The Thing 4 years later. I actually went to the movie, watched the film, didn't really realize it was the same director, being honest. I didn't really realize, oh, that's John Carpenter. I'm just watching this movie and I was blown away. I saw it in the theater when it was first released in June of '82. And when I walked out of the theater, I was just kind of like mesmerized. And believe it or not, I noticed the poster. I'd just seen the whole film, but I looked at the poster and I saw the same guy's name that was also on Halloween. And believe it or not, it was at that very second I said, I want to do what he did to me twice. So because of John Carpenter, he changed my life. And at that second, I said, I don't know anything about directing, but I have to learn it. And so I became committed, obsessed. And I remember when I grew up in Seattle. I'm from the West Coast.
Mhm.
That's why I got a Seattle Supersonics jersey on right now.
Oh,
Oh,
nice.
nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I grew up from Seattle, even though I've lived in New York longer than I ever lived in Seattle, which is crazy. And I remember thinking, how could I possibly learn what a director does? Because from what I understood, you work with all these different departments. You usually sometimes write the script. I had no idea how to do any of that stuff. And at that time, that was way before the internet. That was actually before DVD. It was actually really before VHS. And so I didn't know how to do it. And I remember I went to this bookstore at a mall in, I guess you call it Northgate. It's like North Seattle.
Mhm.
And I'm like, I don't know how I'm ever going to, I was so intimidated. It seemed so overwhelming to me. But here I am 30 years later and obsessively worked at it my whole life now. And, won Best Thriller this year, Best Horror Film 2 years ago, got Directing Award last year. So I guess it's finally paying off, but I'm definitely not an overnight success.
Oh, that's awesome.
Hey,
man.
no worries.
You know,
I have to ask you because my wife's family is all around the Seattle area. What part of Seattle are you from?
So
That's the question.
I really grew up in the Everett, Snohomish area of Seattle.
Sure.
So that's about 30 minutes north of Seattle.
Yeah, no, I know. My wife's uncle lives in Mukilteo. I don't
Yeah,
get to make that
that's
reference
west.
very often. Yeah, exactly.
That's like the west.
Nice.
That's like the coast there where the Puget Sound runs together with Everett.
Yeah. All right. Cool. That's a first of all gorgeous area. I don't know if I'd ever be able to leave there, but yeah, New York ain't bad, I guess. So,
Yeah, but
yeah, it's cool.
You know what's crazy is I haven't been home a lot since I left there to go in the Army after high school. And when I went back last year when my dad was sick he had throat cancer, I couldn't believe how much has changed. It's so populated because a lot of people from outside the state have moved there to be with Amazon, Microsoft,
Yep.
Starbucks, all that stuff that's, kind of national. But when I was growing up, that stuff didn't exist. So in some ways, it's not as good as it used to be.
Okay.
Especially with, you see that political unrest where like they're taking over I mean, it's crazy. Seattle was never like that before. So.
yeah. I've only ever been to the one time, so I'll have to defer, Nate. To
Yeah,
your...
jeez, come on.
Yeah, I went one.
Mitch has never even been to Bainbridge Island. How dare you?
I saw them throw a fish at some unsuspecting folks, their own unsuspecting victims, as it were. Well,
man.
very cool. So Gruesome Threesome is coming out October 2nd. We got the pleasure of watching it. Really enjoyed it. So my understanding, I think, from some of the press releases and things I think that I read up on. So the first two features, I think, is Downfall of Johnny Garrett and Stalk, were part of something, I guess, a movie called Evil Streets that was on VHS. Now, was that also an anthology? Was it?
It was an anthology. There was a gentleman, a friend of mine named Michael Knight. He was a guitar player that I directed a music video for back in 1994. And we became friends, and he actually used to put out a magazine. He actually published it called Guitar 2001 magazine. And it was all guitar player centric. So a lot of heavy metal, shredders, you name it, you got it. So he asked me to become one of the writers for the magazine. And I was actually the senior writer. So I interviewed guys like Joe Satriani, Buckethead, George Lynch, Alex Golnick, the list of Steve Vai, the list goes on and on. And maybe a year or two into it, he asked me, would I be interested in making a film? And I said, well, what do you mean? And he goes, he was actually a writer besides being a guitar player. Mm-hmm. So he had some short stories, and he goes, I've got this story. Would you mind reading it and considering making it into a film? And then I was wondering, could you write your own film and we put it together and then maybe recruit another director and put all three together? So that's actually what we did. Michael wrote a script called The Downfall of Johnny Garrett, which is about a a girl walking home from work. She gets attacked and by this gang leader, and some stuff happens, which I don't want to give too much away.
Of course, yeah.
So
Of course.
so he wrote the story, but then we collaborated on the script, and then he says, well, what else do you want to make? And at that time, there was a feature film I was trying to get made called Perishing Hearts, which has still never been made. And one of the characters in that movie is a girl named Corey Stone, the character. And I wanted to cast a girl with like a big chest, but I had never seen a girl that looked like I was seeing in my head. So I ended up seeing this girl in a magazine who was a model in that field. So her name was Serena Lee. So I had reached out to her about the other movie, the feature, and she was definitely interested. She was, believe it or not, did acting in high school. So she was in Florida. She was from Jacksonville, Florida. So we were going to do that movie together if I could ever get the money, etc. But before that happened, when my friend asked me to come up with a story, my first thought was, what could I write for her?
Mhm.
And thought maybe I could write something that she knows how to do that would make it easier for her first time acting.
Sure.
And she was a professional, I guess you could say, dancer. Not like a small dancer. She's what back in those days they called it feature dancers. So she would travel around the whole country, get paid a lot of money to dance at these gentlemen's clubs. And she was in magazines with big boobs, etc. So I thought, let me write a story for her. But before I start, let me ask her if she'll be interested. Otherwise, I'm not going to do it. So I contacted her and I said, Serena, would you mind if I wrote a script around you being a dancer where there's an obsessed fan and you will be doing something you've already know, but yet kind of break into acting first time? And she said, yes. So then I wrote it. I told Mike, I've got the gift. And at that time, back in those days, this is like 95, 96, DVD was not out yet.
Right.
Blu-ray was not out. But you had VHS and you had Laserdisc. So there was a store in Long Island called Laserland, which was huge. And you could get every movie on Laserdisc. So there was a guy working there that I had heard was always a filmmaker. His name was Joe Parda. So Joe and I had become friends. So I told him the idea about this movie. I said, do you want to come in with your own story? And we'll have like an anthology. And he said, yes. So that ended up becoming Evil Streets. So I directed 2 of the films. Joe directed 1. And we put the movie out ourselves on VHS, sold out, because Serena was, a lot of people love Serena. And it's never been out since we sold out, because what ended up happening was, it costs money to run all the tapes. So we said, you know what, we made our money back. We profited. We said, let's leave it at that. And unfortunately, Michael Knight died about 2 years ago. And Joe Parda kind of got out of filmmaking. I haven't seen him in like 10, 15 years. So the movie's basically just set. My 2 movies. But I will tell you this. Before Michael died, I had met a friend. I had a friend come over. Do you guys know James Balsamo?
No,
I can't say that I do. No.
He's a really prolific horror film exploitation director.
Okay.
He's from Long Island, but he lives out in LA now. He makes like 5 movies a year. It's crazy. He had come over to my house about 4 years ago, and he said, Terry, what are you doing? So he said, I've never seen any of your films. And I'd never seen any of his films. We were just friends because one of my friends ended up acting in one of his movies. So I went on the set, watched him. We started talking. And then I said, let's see each other's movies. So he came over. He goes, I don't want to watch my movies. Let me see your movies. Mm-hmm. So I showed him like The Downfall of Johnny Garrett and Stock. And after we're done, he's like, what are you doing with those old movies? I go, what do you mean? He goes, can the public get those? I said, no. He goes, why not? He goes, you should take 3 of those old movies, put them together with a new wraparound, and make them available for people to see them.
Yeah, why not, right? Yeah.
You make a little money. You get a little money. People see it. He goes, I am telling you, these old films that were shot on SVHS, edited on 3/4, there's a huge audience like that vintage look. So that's how Gruesome Threesome came to be. Sorry, I talked too much.
No worries. No, that's interesting
Yeah,
to
you're
hear
good.
how
Yeah,
that all came together. Yeah.
So that's for those two. How did Hair of the Dog, the third feature, was that its own kind of standalone, or was that part of another collection, or?
Yeah, so that was after Evil Streets. I made some short films for a couple years because there just wasn't a lot going on at that time, like money wise, to make another movie. And so one of my films I made ended up being a 3-minute movie that won an international film contest. I came in first place, and it was sponsored by Apple. So I got a brand new Mac, and Apple showed my movie for 6 months on Apple's website, which is unbelievable, right?
Cool. Yeah.
And a guy saw that, a friend of mine saw that, and he said, "You won an international film contest." I saw Evil Streets. He actually was a little bit involved with Evil Streets because he donated some money towards the making of stock. That was before it all crowdfunding.
Yeah.
We're kind of doing back then with friends. So with like Indiegogo and Kickstarter and all that, they didn't exist. So anyway, this guy said to me, "I've got this script that Richard Rubenstein from Dawn of the Dead optioned as an anthology, but I don't think he's ever going to do anything with it. And I'm getting sick and tired of waiting for my scripts that never get made." So he goes, and this was kind of when eBay was kind of young. So he said, "I could go sell a bunch of my stuff on eBay, and if I took that money, could we make a movie?" And I said, "Well, what's the movie? What's the story?" He goes, "It's a story about this lawyer, and he's got an adult movie producer, and there's a serial killer." And he goes, "It's like half a movie. It's like 45 minutes." So I read it, and I actually was already aware of it. And I said, "Yeah, I like the story a lot." And so then my DP editor, Sean McGinn, who had done Washington Road, which, by the way, that was the movie that won first place in the international contest. You guys could go watch it on YouTube. It's on YouTube.
Washington
You can
Road.
go watch
Yeah,
it 3 minutes
yeah.
long.
Writing that now, right now.
Yeah, Washington Road. And he had done another movie I'd made together called Help Me, which is also on YouTube. It's like an 8-minute, like psychological mind screwer film and thriller. And so Tim said to me, "Could you guys make my movie if I put the money up for it?" So we did. And essentially we had a 45-minute movie that wasn't a feature, wasn't really a short. We were like right in the middle. So we didn't really have anywhere to go with it. So there was a company in 2008 that came out, early streaming movie platform. They ended up optioning it, but they went belly up really fast. They didn't survive. So Hair of the Dog really has never been seen by many people. So James said, "Why don't you take Hair of the Dog and 2 of your other movies from Evil Streets?" So James, he didn't know the wraparound. So then what I did was I said, "You know what? It's actually a good idea. I'd never thought of it, believe it or not. I had never thought of it." And so I reached out to Tim Clark, who was the writer producer of Hair of the Dog, who invested like a little bit of money in stock.
Yeah.
And I said, "Tim, do you have any ideas for a wraparound? Just something short that could put these 3 movies together?" And he goes, "I got something exactly. And I could write it in one night." And he did. He sent me a script next day. I said, "Let's do it." And we did. So that we shot that back in 2017 because I was so busy on finishing Devil's 5 and beginning Double Vision that I just couldn't put Gruesome out until now. So I was kind of working on 3 movies at the same time. I was working on Devil's 5, which I directed 3 episodes. And I was doing Double Vision, which I wrote, produced, direct all myself. And then I was working on Gruesome Threesome.
That's really cool. So of the 3, I think Hair of the Dog was probably my favorite. I actually really enjoyed that one. Nate, I don't know which one of the 3 that you liked more.
Yeah, I'd say Hair of the Dog is probably my favorite as well.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, they were really good. I had the question, then I just went away.
Like
it'll come. Okay. So of those 3, one's kind of has a little bit of a supernatural element. One is a little bit more of a slasher, and one's more kind of like reminding me of some of like the old like kind of revenge flicks, kind of thing. No, so of those type of horror movies, which one of those is your favorite to make? Do you prefer kind of making slashers? Do you like making more of the supernatural? I guess they get just from the whole actually filming it and putting it together and writing. What's more what do you like? What do you enjoy more?
Well, it's interesting because I grew up really in the slasher age, with Halloween and My Bloody Valentine, The Burning, Friday the 13th, etc.
Yep.
And I really, truly love that period. I think when I was first starting out, that was my love, was slashers. And there's a little tiny bit of that in Double Vision, my new movie, even though it's a thriller.
Mm-hmm.
There's an aspect to that. Some people compared it to Halloween and Scream. So you could see a little bit of that. But I think if I was to say, as a filmmaker, I love to be incredibly diverse. But I think what I really love the most is creating suspense. And that can be so many different ways. Suspense could be in a movie like Maniac, which is a gore film.
Mm-hmm.
It could be suspense in a horror film that's supernatural, like The Exorcist. It could be suspense like Hitchcock, whether it be Vertigo, North by Northwest, De Palma, Body Double, etc. So I love suspense, whether it's The Shark in Jaws, Michael Myers. That's my favorite aspect, is creating that through cinematography, sound design. I get really, really complex visually. There's a lot of things that people may not see in my movies. You might have to watch them 10, 20 times. You may never pick them up, and that's okay. But I like to get really, really under the surface. Movies like The Mothman Prophecies, one of my favorites, where you're looking at the shapes of shots, the shapes of what you're looking at, perspectives, where the camera is. I get really technical with that. Even though I don't want to bog the viewer down with that, that's my style. So to answer your question is, I like to be open to a lot of different genre and even different types within each genre. But my favorite is creating suspense.
Very cool.
Okay, interesting. I had a question about the music in the film. So Mitch and I talked beforehand, and we were fans of the music.
Yeah.
So film, and I wanted to know how that came about and who you got to do the music, because there was some pretty sweet tracks in there that we noticed across multiple of the segments in the film.
Yeah, Nate and I both love rock, and Nate's our guitarist. So when especially in Stalk, that there's one song in there that was like, I think I wrote in my notes today. I'm like, Nate's all in this song. I just know it. I was like, I know Nate is like over here like
that is specifically
just watching
one of the things.
He's just like watching that scene multiple times. Like, how do I get this jam? Anyway, sorry, you're about to answer.
That was a banger for sure.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. Each one of those 4 movies that are in Gruesome Threesome all have different music.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So, the music in Downfall of Johnny Garrett, that was Michael Knight composing it as a guitar player. So you had that heavy guitar and kind of atmospheric guitar. In Stock, you had both score and then songs.
Yep.
The songs were like Voodoo Storm, which was the fetish song when Serena's dancing on stage as Misty. And then there was a song where the guy's working out. That was another Voodoo Storm song. And then I had a couple other bands like Postponing the Inevitable, Sons of Infinity. I think that was where the girls walking into the school, where Misty's walking into the school.
Mm-hmm.
And Phil Varker and the Slam Jammers. So, and then in Hair of the Dog, you had score by David Helpling. And then you had songs by, there's Skull Grinder. There's, we got so many. Symphony X.
Oh.
Which
I'm aware of Symphony X. Yep.
Yeah, Symphony X. There's a Symphony X on. There's a Michael Romeo track, the guitarist from Symphony X. He did a classical guitar piece in there. I don't know if you noticed that. OSI, that has Mike Portner from Dream Theater, Jim Mathias from Fate's Warning, Sean Malone from Guardian Knot. That's another song.
Yeah.
You know what it is? I'm very influenced as a director by Michael Mann. And if you watch Michael Mann's films, whether they're The Insider, Heat, Miami Vice, he always has lots of sources of music. And
Yeah, sure.
I get that inspiration from him.
Yeah.
So if you watch
Okay.
my movies, you're going to hear a lot of music, and it's going to be music that I like personally. And I'm a hard rock, heavy metal fan. So you're going to hear it.
Yeah, I was gonna say when you mentioned Skull Grinder, I think Mitch died inside a little bit because he's like, I want to take that band name. So
Just take the E off Grinder, and I think
yeah, exactly. Yeah, then Grinder suing you, so you can't win. You can't win.
You know, I don't know. There's got to be a way to work around that.
Well, you know what? You might have a little in there because that was actually one of Michael Knight's bands, and Mike died 2 years ago.
Yeah, that did seem similar. Yeah, like the music from the first one and the second one. See, there was a little bit of thematic overlap, I think, and that totally makes sense. I guess I had a question about some of your, if you had to pick some of your all-time favorite horror films. You've already kind of mentioned Halloween, The Thing, but like, what are some of the in your opinion, kind of your favorite horror movies, and maybe even some of your favorite kind of B horror movies that people don't know about? That's a question I always like to ask everybody.
Yeah, so I've got a huge list, and by the way, I'm not saying this to be lazy, but if any of your listeners or watchers go to my website, if they go down to the bottom left corner, it says my all-time favorite horror films, and I actually break them down by slasher, by gore, by underrated. I've got all these categories because there's so many. I want to talk about all of them. And
Sure.
So I'll talk about them now. But if your listeners want to go there, they'll definitely see the same things I'm going to say now. There's so many I have for different reasons. So obviously Halloween is one of my all-time favorites. And I don't say that because of anybody else liking them or critically people liking them. This is what I like. This is what affected me, hit me emotionally. So for Halloween, it was really cinematography. It was very suspenseful. It really was not gory. And the music is just, you gotta say it. Wasn't the music in Halloween amazing?
Oh yeah.
Oh, it's like the best horror soundtrack probably of all time. So,
Yeah. So I love Carpenter's Halloween. The Thing, obviously, for many reasons. I think it's John Carpenter's best film. I've actually said that to him in person when I got a chance to meet him once. And I also am I know it's not a horror film, but I am a huge fan of the Terminator, the first Terminator.
Oh, so this is an actual debate Mitch and I have. I think Terminator is a horror film.
Hey, a guy coming back from the future to stop the past and kill this woman, and he does it brutally, right? That's a horror film, right?
It's a slasher movie, but the slasher guy uses a MAC-10 and can't die.
Right.
The robot. Right. I don't know how much more horror it gets than that. Crazy. Okay, love it.
It's a very specific target, I think is my problem. Yeah, other people die as a result, but he's focused on one. It's a little different. Tell him it's not a horror movie. Bill Paxton, you tell me you want to talk about T2 and that scene. I'm with you. I'm all in on T2.
No, the first one is the horror film. The second one's the action film. Come on.
Just those drums.
And I'm glad you guys like it too. You know what's crazy about the first Terminator? I saw that when I was in the Army, when it came out in the fall of '84. And it is the only movie in my whole life. I went and saw it on base. I was at Fort. The base doesn't exist anymore. It was Fort Ben Harrison, Indiana. So it was right outside Indianapolis. And I went and saw it on a Saturday night. And I was, from the first second, with that Brad Fidel score.
Oh my God.
And here comes the score. I was totally engrossed. And, Jim Cameron, let's be honest, he's a freaking genius. And so I'm watching this movie and I'm captured from the first second. And I watched it on Saturday night. I went back the next night on Sunday nights, paid for it again. Went back the next night, saw it on Monday night. Went back a fourth night in a row. It's the only movie in my life I saw 4 nights in a row. And I think it's because the story was like a circle. A guy coming back from the past to stop the future, but the girl from the past is the one who makes the baby with the guy from the past. That's the guy who sends us back to the past. It was freaking crazy. that story just looped in my head. And that's why he's one of my favorite directors too, Jim Cameron.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Mitch and I talk about Terminator entirely too much, I think. So
You can't. That's impossible. You can't talk about Terminator too much.
we always say,
It is
we are not huge fans of time travel, plot points necessarily, just because it can be kind of lazy. Terminator is the one, right? You're going one direction.
Well, when you use Terminator as like, okay, are we following Terminator rules? And if that's always already your baseline,
if you're following Terminator
that means it's the
time travel,
de facto
you're doing okay.
time travel thing. Well, exactly. Yeah. Sometimes some movies get the time travel okay where it's followed. Some of it's very like, oh, cool. He was able to go back and fix everything.
Yeah, transmagically.
Yeah,
great.
It's
So the kind of the premise of our podcast is we usually have what we call an unsuspecting victim with us. So we try to get someone who's not necessarily a horror fan to watch some of these movies with us and get their take, right? Because Mitch and I have been horror fans for a long time, and we have essentially numbed our close friends and family members with the amount of horror films they've watched. I think my wife has watched at least 300 to 400 horror films with me, she is, thank you for your service, Amanda, my wife. And so we like to ask, who are the unsuspecting victims, in your life, friends, family, people you've got on board with horror films that's horror fans, there's no one who's like, I'm a big comedy fan, I need to go convert these people to be comedy fans. That's not kind of like a common thing with that genre. Yeah. In the horror genre, it seems like people more and more want to try to get people into things like, this is the scariest thing ever, you have to come see this, and try to spread the kind of that knowledge, right? So how have you gone about that in your life? I'm assuming you definitely have had unsuspected victims in your life, but kind of how has that come about for you?
Yeah, probably too many to name, but if I was to give one story I can think of offhand, when I met my wife back in 1993, this is going back a ways, it was August of that year. So when October came up, I always liked to watch, I tried at that time to watch a horror movie a day for the entire month of October.
Yeah, that's what we do too. Yeah.
So since we were dating, I thought, let me get her caught up on a bunch of scary movies she's never seen. So I showed her a horror film every night for that whole month. She told me later on that it scared the shit out of her. I hope I can use that word here.
Oh yeah.
No,
you're
go.
good.
Yeah, you're fine. You're fine. Yeah.
So it scared the crap out of her, and she said the one that scared her the most was the dark figure in the doorway of the church, and John Carpenter again, Prince of Darkness.
Oh,
okay. That guy standing there that would come back in the dream. She said when she thought about that scared the crap out of her. So she was my non-horror fan that watched a bunch of scary movies and scared the crap out of her. I thought it was cool.
This sounds similar to us. Maybe that's, as a horror fan, like I just need to get you to watch 10 horror films with me. If you can handle this, our relationship should be absolutely fine. Maybe that's how it goes. Who knows? I know my story, Mitch. I don't know if I've ever told you this, but in college, I had a first date with a girl on Valentine's Day to go see The Ring 2. Which was
fantastic.
Not exactly a first date movie material, but hey, that's how it goes sometimes. So
you just reminded me of another story just sprang because of your story.
What's that? Yeah.
So when I went on my first date ever back in high school, there was a girl that was from a different high school I asked out. I didn't really know her. So I said, would you like to go see a movie? And she said, okay, sure. So of course, this dates me, which is okay, fine, I'm cool with it. This was when Friday the 13th Part 3 in 3D was opening, which was August 13th of 82. I remember that because I saw it on a Google search one day. Yeah. So I took this girl. So we went out I knew it was going to sell out because we were on Friday the 13th. So I bought the tickets, and then we went to this place to have dinner at this pizzeria. So we eat at this pizza place. We come back to the movie theater. Same place I saw The Thing, by the way. John Carpenter's The Thing, nice. Which is Everett Mall in Everett, Washington. So we go to this theater, there were people all the way around the entire theater. And when you walked in, it was already so crowded, you could only sit single seats. So on my first date with this girl, we already had tickets. We weren't sold out, but we couldn't find a seat together. So I said, what do you want to do? You want to come back another night? And she goes, I know you love these movies. I go, you sure? She goes, no, I know you want to see it. So let's see it. Let's watch it. I go, you want to sit in the back so you're not so close to Jason with 3D with the spears and all? I didn't know what was going to happen, but I knew stuff was going to come as 3D. So she goes, no, I'll sit in the closer seat. So I let her sit close, and I sat in the back. On this first date, me and this girl sat separately. On Friday the 13th, Part 3 in 3D opening night.
That's crazy.
Was there a second date? And if
No.
not, I was going to say, if not,
No.
if not, I think I can guess why. I believe you failed the test. There was a clear test. I know you like the movie. Are you sure you want to watch? Like, that was a test. You failed. It's okay, but you failed on that.
Actually, not to get in my love life or history, but you know what happened? It actually wasn't the movie that sabotaged our relationship. What happened was, after that movie, I was so disappointed that we couldn't sit together. I thought, let me take her to a baseball game. So I said, how do you like to go see the Red Sox? Because believe it or not, even though I grew up in Seattle, I've always been a Boston Red Sox fan since I was a little boy. So the Red Sox were coming to play the Seattle Mariners. And that's back when they had the Kendo. Mm-hmm. So I said to her, do you want to go see a baseball game? Oh, okay. Well, all right, fine. We'll go to the baseball game. So I bought tickets. And like the night before the game, she calls me up and she says, listen, I can't go to the game tomorrow. I go, what? I feel like, what the heck? What's wrong with me and this girl's relationship? Because I can't go to the game because I had to babysit. That's actually how I met her. She was babysitting my neighbor because she was not from our neighborhood. And I saw this girl and I go, oh, wow, look at her. Oh, my God. She was very pretty. So I was like, I can't believe it. We're going to get sabotaged on our second date. She goes, don't you have a friend that you could take out to the game? Just, have fun. I said, okay, fine. So the next day, I go to the beach with one of my friends, and there's this dock out this lake where we're swimming. And I swim out to the dock. She's on the dock in her bathing suit. And I go, wait a second. Weren't you supposed to be babysitting? Weren't you not able to go to the game tonight because of babysit? She goes, I am babysitting, but my friends with the kids back on beach right now. I didn't believe her. So I was pissed. So I was like, screw it. She goes, did you get someone for the game? I go, not yet, but I will. I said, I'm not taking a guy. I'm going to get a girl. And at the time, I was only dating this. This is my first date.
Yeah.
So I said, you know what? I'm going to be brave. I'm going to ask another girl. So I called up a girl from my church. And I said, would you like to go see a baseball game? She was a softball player too. And she goes, yeah. And she was also very pretty. She was actually a year older than me. And so she goes, yeah, I'll go with you to the game. So we went to the game. Flash forward a couple of days, the girl calls me back. Her name is Julie. And she goes, so how'd the game go with your friend? I said, we had a great time. She goes, which one of your friends did you bring? I go, Debbie. She goes, Debbie? A girl? I go, yeah, I brought a girl. And she goes, who's she? I go, she's a junior. I was a sophomore at the time. She goes, a junior? Oh my God, I didn't know you were going to take a girl. I said, yeah. And she goes, well, call me sometime. Let's go on another date. I said, yeah, if I want to. And I hung up on her. Never saw her again.
Now,
I blew this girl up.
I have to ask the question, did you buy the tickets for the baseball game sitting next to each other?
Yes.
Okay. I got to be sure that it didn't happen 2 times in a row, just in case. Okay. Yeah. All right. That's what sealed it right there. That's how you do it.
And check this out. The girl that I dated for that baseball game, then she wanted to start to kind of date. So then we started watching horror films together, like Friday.
Oh, nice. All right.
I think we watched Friday the 13th Part 2, something like that. So you guys would enjoy that. It's always horror films, right?
Nice.
Horror films all the time.
Absolutely.
I actually had a same situation where we went to a movie. It was so packed I couldn't sit next to my girlfriend. It was a horror film. It was Indiana Jones and the Crystal Skull. It was horrifyingly bad. So I actually had a similar situation. Not quite the same, but essentially very close.
By the way, I want to circle back to the B movies. I never got to say anything.
Oh yeah, of course.
Sure, yeah, go for it.
You know, I love B movies. To me, they're not B movies. They're just lower budget, maybe not a high list. Movies like Humanoids from the Deep. Who doesn't love seeing a bunch of beautiful women getting attacked by Rob Bottin monsters in the Pacific Northwest of, you know, with James Horner's score, right?
Yeah, that movie's good. Yeah,
Typically, most of the people who are unsuspecting victims on the show, but I get your point.
yeah, usually not.
Yeah, usually not them. We do. Them, not me. But
we'll pitch Tammy and the T-Rex to anyone who will listen. But
oh man,
will they like it? Is the question. But yes, no, we're right in that wheelhouse. What are some of your other favorites?
As far as B, I call B in the audience's eyes, but not to me.
Sure. No.
Of course. Yeah.
I love the Maniac. Maniac was one of the most gory, brutal, just unrelenting movies. You had Savini at his top form, even shooting himself with a shotgun. You had that amazing score that was really dark and spooky. I think that director didn't get enough credit for creating a really like nasty feel. William Lustig, he created that feel with some great shots. I know they think they shot in 16 millimeter. That's one of I like that a lot. I also really like, believe it or not, back in the day there, I really liked, I don't think he was necessarily a great storyteller, but his films had a lot of impact visually. And that was Lucio Fulci. You know, whether it's The Gates of Hell, The Beyond, you know, whether you call it The Seven Doors of Death, Zombie. I mean, I don't think he's necessarily a filmmaker like Cameron or Carpenter or one of these guys, but he had an impact with some of his films, and they were very distinctly his.
Shit, if I know we were going to talk like zombie, I would have gone and wore my zombie shirt. I got the zombie shark
Mitch
fight
has a
t-shirt instead of my Bray Wyatt head thing that I'm wearing here, but also Tom Savini. So, you know,
absolutely.
Yeah, exactly.
I love, you know, that's a great thing about Tom Savini. You can tell someone really loves what he's doing when he's like, I'm going to do all the really cool effects to me. Like no one else is going to get to do it. I'm going to
blow my face up 100 times.
My whole torso blown out. No one gets that. That's me.
Did you guys ever take Maniac and freeze frame any of the gore scenes just to study the effects?
No, I've rewound it multiple times, but I have not. I never freeze framed.
I used to freeze frame it and like look at the way the head's flying this way and blood shooting across the wall, and it goes. I mean, I remember when I was, especially back in my younger days of high school, you know, whether it was the burning with Cropsey chopping the fingers off on the raft, and people getting the hedge clippers in the throat, and you know, I do that with a Prowler, or you know, Dawn of the Dead, you know, shotgun blast.
Yep.
That's what we used to do back at the time. I think my high school students, classmates, they probably think I'm a gore freak, but that really was back then. Now I've kind of matured. I still like gore and stuff, but that doesn't really like thrill me as a filmmaker. It's really more like cinematography and music and sound design, all that stuff, and acting, of course. So, but I can watch House by the Cemetery, Suspiria. I love that stuff. It's fantastic. Another movie that's one of my favorite that I never hear anybody ever talk about, and it's really not gory. Did you guys ever see Targets with Boris Karloff?
No,
I don't think I guess not. Yeah.
It was based on a situation that happened back in the late 60s in Austin, Texas, where a guy went up on top of the University of Texas tower.
Of course, yeah.
And he started shooting people.
Yeah.
And that actually happened. Toby Hooper obviously knew about it because he was from that area. Yep. And God rest his soul. Chainsaw is one of my favorites, by the way. But Peter Bogdanovich made a movie, kind of similar story, where this guy's working a regular job, comes home, kills his family, goes out to this tower and starts shooting people. And he worked this story in where Boris Karloff's like an older star, kind of on his last legs, and he has to like go to drive-ins to meet people and sign autographs. He's kind of at the bottom of the barrel of his career. He ends up going to the drive-in where this guy starts shooting people. And to see Boris Karloff go over with a cane and beat the crap out of this guy killing people, I mean, who wouldn't love that, right? The guy, played Frankenstein, the guy that was the Grinch, beating a psychopath up. How cool is that?
Absolutely.
Definitely go see Targets. Watch Targets.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
I am 1,000% watching that.
Our co-host Lisa, she's a Longhorn, so yeah, very much aware of that story.
When you're on UT's campus, you gotta walk in a certain way to get out of the sidelines.
We can make those jokes because she's not here, because she'd be so pissed right now. She does not like us talking. We can say all sorts of trash, but we cannot talk about UT. That's where she draws the line with us. Surprisingly, man, The Burning is such a great movie. I still contend that those kids deserved it for what they did.
Oh, The Burning. The kids were the villains.
Once again, where did they find the head? They had already murdered someone to give that head to someone. There's practical joke my ass. Someone was dead that they buried or dug out for that prank. You know.
Yeah, a little necropsy or whatever, right?
Yeah. I just we watched that one with another fellow New Yorker. In fact, so yeah, we got to hear a little bit more about cropsy.
Yeah,
that's very familiar with the cropsy tale.
That's the thing. So Texas has got, obviously we're Texas Podcast Massacre, so we're huge Chainsaw fans, but. Texas.
Well, we got that the town that dreaded sundown.
You got West Texas, and then you got rural kind of townhouse thing. But really, the cradle of and because it's a lot older, but the cradle of U.S. horror lore is definitely in the Northeast, right? Obviously, that's where all the old stuff is. So you get all the kind of Gothic kind of stuff there from all the old architecture and stuff. Yeah. Texas has got a little bit, but we can't hold a candle to the Northeast. We need to start making some. We're the Chupacabra Texas horror films. Like we need to start getting those because we're a little deficient there.
We're leaning more into the hillbilly stuff. We gotta branch out, try some other things.
Exactly. Look, we got lots of so Mitch is from Louisiana, so there's you got all the swamp monsters / people there. We need to make something. We need to make something new for Houston. I'm not sure. The Rougarous, which I cannot believe I know what that means. That's
are you trying to say your life is not enriched from knowing what a Rougarou is nowadays?
I think crawfish just generally are horror based.
What is wrong with crawfish? We got gators. We got. Random
just walking by on the ground, it's like, hey, there's like a fish who's not in water. That's really gross looking.
LSU fans, all terrifying, all just scary.
Exactly. But by the way, Mitch, when I was in the Army, my last duty station was at Fort Polk, Louisiana.
Oh, okay, very cool.
I lived in Louisiana for about 1.5 years.
I apologize.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry for that. Wow.
But you know what? It wasn't so bad because while I was there, I did take a couple of excursions over to Dallas. Mm-hmm. I saw where I took that whole walk where Kennedy was shot, and I was trying to figure out if it was actually the grassy knoll or the building. I kind of made my own theory by just going on Elm Street and all that. And then I went down to New Orleans as well. Yep. So I got a chance to see the Big Easy, right?
Well, and you ate good too, because that's
the food there is incredible. And speaking of crawfish, I remember one time where we were down there. Someone said, "Do you want to go?" I forget the way they said it, but do you want to go to the pool? And I thought it was for swimming. And we went to this pool, and they had crawfish all laying inside the dried pool with salt all over them, so you could just pick them up and start eating the crawfish.
Oh, people do that. When I lived in Baton Rouge, we had just some of the craziest people. They would take their kids out and they would go catfishing. They would go it's like, oh yeah, we got to go in the fan boat today and go, take care of gators on the property. It's like, what? And we lived in the burbs in Baton Rouge. So I'm like, what is wrong? And then we moved to Shreveport, which is basically like South Arkansas, East, more East Texas, East Dallas, so it's not as colorful.
That needs to be a movie. Fan boat gator hunting. It's like Jaws.
I think it's called The Water Boy.
Oh, okay.
Which it's gonna be these poor kids when they go back into real school. Like my mama said that alligators.
Can I ask you guys a question?
Of course. Sure.
Your favorite movie ever shot in Louisiana?
Oh, shot in Louisiana. Oh man.
Not necessarily a Louisiana story.
Right.
Was filmed there. And I have mine. And what's your favorite in Texas? And I have mine there too. shot in Texas.
Wait, why don't you go first? You have one queued up for Louisiana. I got to think for a second here. What is your Louisiana one?
Oh, you want to hear mine?
Yeah.
Okay.
You already got it locked and loaded.
So my favorite that was shot in Louisiana was Chuck Russell's remake of The Blob.
Oh yeah, sure.
I thought that was really excellent. Had some great effects. It had action. I think it's an underrated movie. So that was my favorite in Louisiana. That was shot in Louisiana.
There you go. Okay.
I'd have. I mean, this is kind of.
I caught you guys off guard, right?
No, that's good. No, I think mine
bit.
I'd have to pick is probably Interview with the Vampire.
God damn it, Nate. It's
so classic New Orleans. New Orleans
fair.
Vampire and Rice. I mean,
Boo,
I gotta go. I gotta go with it.
Actually, wait a second. I just thought that I'm wrong about my answer, Louisiana.
Oh, okay.
My favorite movie ever shot in Louisiana is The Mist.
Oh yeah,
I love
The Mist.
I love The Mist. Huge fan.
I love the original ending. Everything perfect.
Yes.
Love
Well,
it.
that's the thing too. I think after when Katrina happened, a lot of filming. There was already filming in New Orleans, but then a lot of filming moved up north. So I remember there was a show called Salem. They started filming in Shreveport, Louisiana. My favorite story. It's not the favorite movie that's been filmed. I do. It's probably still Interview with the Vampire. But my favorite was the sequel to Harold and Kumar Go to White Castle. Harold and Kumar 2 was filmed in Shreveport. I shit you not, their offices were on Stoner Avenue, which is a major-ish street in Shreveport. And I just, they did it on purpose. There's not
scouting,
a lot.
it's all
That's
good.
not where you really want to be in terms of there's not a whole lot of business stuff there, but they were just they passed by. They're like, oh yeah, this is.
Mitch, I'm surprised. I'm surprised you didn't pick Louisiana documentary Skeleton Key. I mean, I'm surprised you didn't pick that.
Yeah, that's more your bag, man.
It's too realistic. Is that why you don't like it? No,
oh yeah, that's what it is. It's
Wasn't HBO's True Blood shot there?
Yes, True Blood was shot there. It's supposed to take place. I guess they shot it in North Louisiana because that's where the show takes place.
Okay. Yeah.
And then I think they also shot Treme was there because I remember going to Paris when we went to Paris. I remember the hotel clerk guy was wanted to talk about it when he found out I was from Louisiana. I'm like, I haven't seen the show. I'm happy to talk about New Orleans, but I don't really know what to tell you about the show.
wasn't also Angel Heart shot in New Orleans?
It might have been
with Mickey Rourke.
That one I'm not sure. Yeah,
it might have been.
Alan Parker directed it.
Duck Dynasty is also filmed in. That's scary for a different reason. Hey, if I could have made $1 million on a duck call, I would have jumped on a heartbeat. So yeah, Louisiana Tech's finest. All right. So now you said for Texas. That is, man.
Yeah, a lot more to work with.
A lot more to work with. Nate, do you have one for Texas?
Texas Chainsaw Massacre is almost too easy, so I'm not gonna go with that. But one of my more favorite recent movies, and Mitch, you too, is the Quentin Tarantino Robert Rodriguez combination of Grindhouse. Right?
I gotta stop letting you answer first.
We are huge. We're both huge Planet Terror fans.
You can see the poster behind me.
Yeah, exactly
right
in the background.
I signed.
I wasn't cheating. I promise. Planet Terror, yeah, it's so Texas. We actually, that I have the Blu-ray of that and listen to director commentary and part of my family lives in the Austin area, so we know some of the filming locations, and I know we've done some movies with Lisa. She's from Austin, and she would know some of the locations around town where things were filmed. I think for Machete, right? It was near where she had her prom and all that kind of stuff. So the Austin-based ones are definitely my favorite for sure. So Mitch, I've stolen yours twice. So go ahead.
Oh yeah, just go ahead. I'm trying to think what else has been. Oh man.
Well, we're obviously not Devil's Rejects fans. So
no. Well, I mean, I like Devil's Rejects. It's fine.
I'm not a big Rob Zombie fan myself.
It's an acquired taste. There's some good ones, but all right, fine. This isn't a horror movie though, but I've got one for you, Nate.
No, go for it. Yeah.
Pee-wee's Big Adventure, which is the feel-good movie of the millennia.
That is a horror film. That is a straight-up horror film.
Ooh,
Tim
is that
Burton,
a
right?
future? Is that a potential future episode, Nate? It very
Absolutely,
well might be.
I could pitch Pee Wee's Big Adventure as a horror film.
Am I gonna
1
laugh
second.
like Pee Wee the entire episode? Yes, yes.
Wow, that's
Get excited, listeners, for that one.
Jury, I rest my case. What? It's over. I've already got it. And that's the one where he ramps the house with the bike, correct?
Among other things, yes.
Okay,
There's-
yeah, okay,
There's a
yes,
fight
that's-
scene in this ginormous bathtub. There is the big T-Rex diner, the tequila dancing with the shoes. It is a classic
Yeah,
Tim
all right.
Burton film.
Got it.
You want my favorite?
Yes,
Texas?
Terry. Which
Yeah,
one's
sure,
yours?
go for it. Yeah.
Even though it's the obvious answer, it has to be Chainsaw because the original
Yeah,
Chainsaw.
it is.
It was
Yeah.
just the thing that blows me away about that movie the most is how most people assume it's gory,
Yeah.
and it's not. It's really subtle. It's got so much power. I remember I saw that the first time on VHS, very early in VHS. I didn't see it when it was first released. I was too young, but I saw it on VHS, and I remember thinking it was unrelenting.
Mhm.
And when you look at it now, as I've got older, the shots, Daniel Pearl's photography with Tobe Hooper's vision, that music by Tobe Hooper and Wayne Bell, that the Texas heat just permeates like every frame. It's got to be the best movie we've ever seen for
Yeah.
Texas.
Oh yeah.
I love it.
No, it is.
Oh, yeah, we
it is
100%
the clear. It is
Yeah,
the clear
it's-
number one.
Yeah, it's number one for sure.
But yeah, I'm trying to think. We actually figured out where exactly they filmed it too in Texas. I think it's somewhere else because
It was
There's a
outside
couple
Austin.
areas. There's some areas outside Austin, and then there's a couple different areas in between Houston and Austin. There's actually they turned the gas station from the film into a barbecue place, and you can actually go there. So future trip, Mitch. Maybe that's a birthday. That's a birthday move right there. or something.
Yeah. Terry, I think we got a couple questions left for you. So one I did want to ask is, you've been doing your own thing for a while. I'm curious if someone were to hand you the keys to an established like huge franchise. Okay, the next Saw is coming. Blumhouse is like let's do this. Annabelle 8. I don't know.
Is Blumhouse related to Blumhouse, Mitch?
God, I always say the damn name wrong.
I'm just
That's
kidding.
the
I'm just
Louisiana
kidding.
in me. I don't pronounce anything right. It's fine. No, you call me out on my
The
shit.
Blumhouse. I can't do a
Blumhouse.
southern accent.
Yeah.
Jesus.
No, you can't. We talked about that. Stop that. Terry, if you could get the keys to a franchise, which one would you do it? Or do you just would you just prefer doing your own thing? And then which one would you do? Which one would you want to do?
It's a really tough question because I feel one of the biggest problems right now in Hollywood, especially, is it seems like they make films out of fear. By that I mean they're afraid to take a chance on something new. Everything's a redo, a reboot, which I hate that.
Yep.
A sequel. I mean, besides Aliens, as a sequel to the first Alien or Carpenter's remake of The Thing, I've never seen anybody recently top or even come close to the original. So I think if you took one, you better take something that wasn't very good, that you could make better. Because if you take something that was great, you're going to fail.
Nice.
Because there's no way you're going to live up to the other film. So I don't know. That's a great question. I would probably look for a film that more people don't know about and do so. But see, that's probably the opposite of what they would want. They would want something that's really well known, but their foolish way of thinking is you're bound to fail because you're going to never meet the expectations of a movie that was great, like Carrie or Nightmare on Elm Street. You can't live up. There's no possible way you can live up to that. So
No.
I would try to take something that was not as well known, but that probably defeat the purpose of why they even want to do it. So, but I do think that I hope the audience starts to demand newer original films, because if we just keep going this recycled crap, it's bad for all of us. It's bad for filmmakers. It's bad for the viewers. It's bad. There's new ideas. There's people that can come up with some. Don't be so afraid to finance that and take chances. I just think that Hollywood is really, really scared, and they have no balls. Back in the 70s, you're looking at movies like Chainsaw or, Deranged or Death Dream or Halloween or Phantasm. These are movies that came out of independent minds. And they ended up going bigger Hollywood because they were so good at doing that originally. But now they're not giving those independent guys a chance. So the independent guys need to speak out and make these films. And that's what I'm trying to do.
Yep.
What I think is a huge problem today is so much work is done by digital, whether it's a digital background, which means it's fake, or a digital person, which means they're fake, or digital effect. I mean, when I look at movies now, I can't tell who made them.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I can because I'm a director, but when I really look at the movie, there's no style.
Yeah.
It says when I was growing up, you could tell a John Carpenter film just by the way it looked. You could tell a De Palma film. You could tell, or, obviously Scorsese, but you could tell Bob Clark. He had a style. Paul Verhoeven. Now you see visual effects styles. Really, to me, when I watch films today, they're controlled by visual effects artists, not by the director. And that's a big problem because no matter how you look at it, what you're seeing in the frame that's not real, it doesn't exist. And I can tell it easy. And I'm pretty sure most people can. So if you're looking at a fake background, doing fake things with the fake, what good is that? I'll give you a good example. I'm not a big TV guy, but the other weekend, maybe last weekend, my wife said, let's start watching this show called Cobra Kai. That's about this Karate Kid, the two guys, where they've gone on to. So I started watching it. And I'm not a big TV guy. And it was freaking brilliant. No visual effects. None.
Yep.
Just two guys, what they've become, and then this brilliant writing of where the son is crossing over and the daughter, and then this guy's crossing here. Oh my God, 30-minute episodes. I can't believe I didn't know about it for a couple years now. I guess they're on the third season now. Better than anything I've seen since the first couple of years of Walking Dead.
Yep.
So, and again, no visual effects. I hope that the audience starts to go back to practical, because all that digital crap is just, it doesn't work for me. It does nothing for me.
No.
And I could watch a movie now. How many times have you seen someone running in front of explosion? Like, how many times can you watch that same crap? Whether it be, it be The Rock in this movie, or The Rock in that movie, or The Rock in this other movie. He's always doing the same thing.
Yeah.
It's the same crap. So that doesn't excite me at all. And maybe this is sacrilegious to some listeners out there, but I could care less about the new Star Wars. I could care less. I want to see films about people. And if they could be scary about people or a monster with people, that's even better. Yeah. So that's what I want. I wouldn't be afraid to take on a film, but I think if you're going to take on a classic, you're going to fail because you're never going to match up.
No, I agree. I think that's one thing. We've really been big fans of Robert Eggers' work, like The Lighthouse.
The Witch was amazing. Lighthouse,
and Ari Aster stuff. That same thing. You can tell there's a lot more focus on original stories, use of practical effects. The subtleties that you get out of that, and so. I do think probably more so in horror. I do think there is an audience for that. I think mainstream horror fans probably they watch what they're given and they're just not given a whole lot. But I think what you talked about kind of at the start of the episode, which I thought was cool, and I think you're absolutely right, with Vimeo, with now even services like Shudder and Netflix and all these. I mean, there are so many other ways besides theater distribution to get out. And it blows my mind about you being able to do the VHS stuff, because in my head, I mean, and I've gone through it, with the band, trying to do my own CDs, vinyl, doing all that kind of stuff. I can't imagine trying to get VHS tapes. Like, I'd be hitting up all of the Albertsons in my neighborhood, like, hey, you'll put that in the like, I don't know, I can't even wrap my head around that, like, without the internet, without it's it's so impressive to me what you've done, and we continue to do. And I think it's just going to get, from an independent film, I think even better and more accessible. And so I think the challenge is how do you know, as more content's there, how do you have time to watch all the content, right?
Yeah. I think it's impossible to watch everything.
Yep.
Between all the channels now and the internet and theatrical, so you can't see everything. But now the key is that you watch what you can that you enjoy. I think that's amazing. And look, I'm trying to make bigger productions. I have a script now that is my baby, and I'm really hoping to get it made. So if there's any listeners out there, again, I'm not depending on this, but because you kind of make your own breaks, nobody's going to give you anything. But I'm hoping to make that on a bigger level. I don't mean necessarily Hollywood level, but on a bigger level than I've been working. And it's a movie that's got legs. It could go all the way. It could be a Halloween. Not every movie can, and I know that. But the film that I want to make next, called Anomaly, about a paranormal research team that goes to Sandy Hook, New Jersey to find out if it's haunted, and they disappear in the first 15 minutes. And then a female cop starts investigating what happened to them, leads to the girls connected with these guys. So the whole movie's it's really about ghosts. Mm. And where I did the last movie, which was a Hitchcockian thriller, before that was a movie, A Devil's Five was about the devil. My next one is balls out horror film with ghosts, but not silly ghosts. Most of the times, the ghosts in my movie, you can't see them. You remember The Entity?
Yep.
Do you remember when Barbara Hershey was in the bathroom and she gets smacked right in the face? Mm-hmm. And she couldn't see it?
Yeah, couldn't see it, right.
Now, I'm not saying I copy that, but that's like my next movie. When I say ghosts, don't think you're seeing things floating around the room, visual effects. It's not like that.
Very cool.
You see something sometime, but you're not going to be laughing. And I tried to, when I wrote it, I tried to scare myself on every level. So I tried to scare, when I was writing it, I tried to scare myself on a physical, psychological, a subliminal, even on an ideological level. Like if you just thought about the idea of what just happened, it would actually scare you. And I'm very hard to get scared because I've been watching horror films all my life.
Yeah, we empathize.
I'm one of these few guys that will drive to work, listen to The Exorcist or, Dawn of the Dead or whatever. So I'm listening to films all the time. So I tried to get the goosebumps to stand up on my body. If I could do that, then I felt like if I could put that in film, then the audience will get it. That's my goal.
Yep. Okay. Yeah. Well, we're looking forward to checking that one out. I guess this is a question we have to ask every single guest. And I'm hoping because you're more of a northern person that you will answer in the correct way. But we have an ongoing battle of wills and debate in our podcast. Which is scarier in a horror film? Is the attic scarier or is a basement scarier? I am from up north near Chicago. So I actually grew up, my bedroom was in the basement. And Mitch is from Louisiana, where if you have a basement, it's essentially a swimming pool. So they don't have any basements. So they're all attic. So he's team attic. He thinks attics are not as scary. And I'm team basement. I don't think basements are scary. Where do you fall on the spectrum?
Correction. Yeah. I know attics are less scary. It is fact, but I will accept how you phrase this question.
This is how I would think about it. If I hear a sound, if I hear a footstep in a basement, I go, oh, someone might be doing laundry down in the basement or something, right? If I hear a footstep in the attic, I might as well just kill myself. I'm already dead at that point.
What are you talking? Is
someone walking in the attic?
Nate, have you ever gotten trapped in your attic and tried to get down? You can't just open the door. You have to wait for someone else.
No self-respecting person stays in an attic any longer than they have to without an escape plan. Come on, Mitch. Everyone knows that. But anyway, sorry.
Yeah. Everyone listening knows our take. Yeah.
So I could see arguments for both, whether it be, one of the scenes from Amityville 2 with Up in the Attic in that movie, or Amityville period, where you have the little eyelet windows, or the basement in The Conjuring, or the basement in House by the Cemetery, or the attic in Black Christmas, Bob Clark's original film,
which is the all-time classic. Yes.
Yeah, which is one of my favorite films of all time. I don't know. I think I might lean towards the attic because of my fondness for Bob Clark's film, but I think there's an argument for both. But I don't want to be wishy-washy, so I'm just going to say attic.
I mean, take more time if you need to think it through. Don't
the
feel
attic
like
is scary.
don't
Team
feel like you
basement.
have to rush into an answer. I mean, look, you can. Look, I don't know.
The divide on this
just-
question. The divide on this question is right down the middle. I mean,
it
this
does go back and forth.
is a 50-50
yeah, so-
proposition for everyone.
Well, let me
to
see.
vote
Let
yes.
me see if I can get any more arguments for either one. So I remember the scene up in the attic in Sinister, right?
Oh, of course, it's
They
absolutely.
were just watching a movie. They weren't doing nothing.
It was all the dead kids. It was all the dead kids.
They were
in
just
the
watching
attic.
movies. It's fine.
The thing about dead kids in a basement is you would notice it faster. Like people can just
no,
live
because
in your
they're
attic
buried
and
in the
s-
basement.
stalk you.
One movie,
Wait.
Black Christmas, is the only one where dead people in the attic.
Sinister. There's all
Well,
kinds of stuff.
How about
Come on.
well, going to the basement? What about my personal friend's movie, Paul Ehlers, who played Madman Mars in Madman, which is probably the best horror film ever shot on Long Island. So that he had all the bodies in the basement down there. I can also think of
Yeah, but if the bodies are in the basement, as long as you kill them somewhere else, you can't hold that against the basement. I mean,
how about my other friend's movie that came out last year with the big huge spider, Micah Gallo's movie Itsy Bitsy, where you had the big spider up in the attic. Remember that last year? Did you guys see
No,
it?
I've not seen that.
I haven't seen that one.
Oh, you guys need to go
Putting
see it.
that
Excellent. One
on
of my
the
friend's
list.
movies.
Okay, yeah, add that on our list.
Adding that to the I like that.
Yeah.
Anti-attic, Itsy Bitsy. You know, Mitch and I both have young kids, and we're singing that song all the time.
Yeah,
so.
Sinister, Attic, right?
Yes, exactly. Yeah, we actually did a team attic versus team basement month earlier.
How about
this
Don't
year
Look
where-
in the Basement?
Well, yeah, don't look in the basement. Sure.
The people
I'm
under
surprised
the
you didn't pick that,
stairs.
Mitch. The people under the stairs.
People
that
on the
was a
Stairs, a
Mitch
Wes
pick.
Craven underrated masterpiece, right?
Yep.
Yes, yeah, we were fans of that one. Yeah, definitely.
How about how about Night of the Living Dead, where the little girl's down there and stabs her mother with that little garden thing?
Mm-hmm.
That's in the basement.
Yep.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
really, that's the granddaddy of independent horror, right?
Oh yeah.
You can't argue that.
If it's scary enough for George Romero, it's the scariest. I think that's the
God rest his soul, right?
yeah, absolutely,
Romero, one of the masters of all time.
absolutely.
Yeah.
By the way, speaking of that, I want to plug one little thing that you guys
Of course.
might be interested in, your readers.
Yeah.
About 3 years ago, I decided to honor the master filmmakers that inspired me and invite some of my fellow directors to participate with me in what we call a Masters Roundtable discussion. And so we've done it every year. We start putting together the end of September, and I post it on my website. So if you go to my website, the first year we honored two masters that had passed away, which was Toby Hooper and George Romero. We did them together. And the filmmakers that were involved talk really detailed about their films. We have 7 or 8 questions. We all have to answer them the same. And these guys go off on everything you can imagine about these guys. These are guys who know them like me. So we did Toby, Toby Hooper and George Romero, the late, both of them. The second year we did John Carpenter. Last year we honored the late Wes Craven.
Yeah. Okay.
So those are already up. You can go read them as we speak. You could literally take 2 or 3 months looking at all the stuff. We have thousands of links on there to interviews, behind the scenes, plus what we say about them. This year, I'm already putting together, and we're thinking about doing it on video with the filmmakers in a room on video. So this year,
Yeah, that's the way to do it. Yeah.
yeah, and I kind of decide on my gut feeling. So this year we are going to do David Cronenberg and
Nice.
unfortunately the late Stuart Gordon as an honorable mention.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So look for that to come out in probably about a month. And it'll be me and the filmmakers that end up participating with me. There's about 7 or 8 that do it.
That's very cool.
How do you like
yeah,
that?
that's cool. Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
that's
yeah,
really
I like that kind of stuff. Like roundtables, getting really in depth in it, and people Mitch and I aren't filmmakers by any stretch of the imagination. We're barely podcasters, but getting the perspective of different people and filmmakers.
These aren't even plugged in.
These aren't plugged in. Yeah, this is just no, but yeah, getting the perspective of filmmakers and chatting people. That's what we like to do.
Absolutely.
That's not what we do. We appreciate it, but we don't see it maybe from that side. So yeah, we'd like to hear all that.
Yeah, I can guarantee if you guys look at them and any of your listeners or readers, they will find out things new about these directors that they never thought of, maybe movies they haven't even seen. They'll blow your mind. And what's so great about it for me as a horror film guy like you guys is before we do it, I mean, I already know the work, but I purposely go back and rewatch films that I might not have seen in 20, 30 years. And sometimes there's even films I haven't seen. Like for Cronenberg, I had never seen Fast Company, which he made back in 1977. And I watched that recently. And now I'm watching Map of the Stars, which I'd never seen him direct. I'd never seen Cosmopolis. These are non-horror films, but he directed them.
Yeah.
So it's really good as film people to be complete and see all the work, right?
Yeah. That I think I am more in that category than Mitch of the rewatching and getting into one director and watching like every one of their movies in a row.
I'll watch a lot in the block, but yeah, rewatching is very rare for me.
So I got to ask you one question because I know we jumped. What was your favorite scene in Hair of the Dog? Without giving anything away.
Oh, without giving anything away, man.
Favorite scene. I don't want to give anything away, but
I'm trying to figure out how do I say it without giving away. Go ahead, Nate.
I'm just gonna say pop the trunk.
I've got to stop letting you answer these questions.
Yeah,
I was trying to figure out how do I say
stealing everything from you.
Pop the trunk's fantastic. That was a fantastic.
That was my fafavorite. That was one of my favorite parts.
I laughed. I loved it when they're like, just wait in the cops are waiting in the car, and they just blast like death metal for. I'm like, I hope if I ever get arrested, I hope these are the guys that are like, yeah, here, we're gonna just crank some stuff for you. You just chill. It's fine.
Did you guys laugh during them? Because that was we were hoping you would.
I did. I very much did.
I did laugh on that. That was pretty good.
It was great.
How did you guys like the nurse scene in Hair of the Dog?
I think Mitch texted me. He said this should be a spin-off movie, right? Isn't that what you said?
I did. I think it's in my notes. I said on it, this is not a bad what Nurse Munchabeaver was fantastic. I laughed.
Oh yeah, did you laugh?
I laughed real loud.
Yeah, it was hilarious. That was pretty funny.
Yeah, I kind of said, can this be part of the movie? Is there a fourth hidden one? Like if that is an Easter egg, and like when the Blu-ray of this comes out, like I'm in it because that was
you're in.
That was great.
You want to hear?
It was funny. Yeah.
You want to hear a funny story about that? That scene was not in the original script. And what happened was we started shooting the movie. And I had to drive to New Jersey. We filmed that in Coltsnick, New Jersey, which is about 2 hours away from where I live. And after one of the whole weekends of filming, the writer-producer, Tim Clark, said, listen, I think we need a scene to show the guy's an adult movie producer. So we kind of almost like need an adult movie scene without going over the line of making it X-rated. So I said, okay, could you come up with something? So he wrote that scene. So I don't know if you know what it's like, but when you direct a movie, it is physically and mentally exhausting if you do it right. Mm-hmm. So by the end of a weekend, you are shot. And I was coming home from that weekend, and I actually sat down in the bathroom to just take a pit stop, if you know what I mean. Yeah. And I said, let me read this scene. So I sit down, and the first scene I see is Assistant Nurse Munchabeaver. I was like, I laughed so hard. Yeah. I was on the toilet. I almost rolled off the toilet. I was laughing so hard. I think it's one of the hardest times I ever laughed in my life.
The name tag really sold it.
And she points to the name tag when she says it.
I particularly love the scene where he goes, what movie do you want to watch? He goes, oh, I loved you in Strap-on Nurses. Like, oh, I've been Strap-on Nurses too. Great, I love sequels. Well,
Yeah.
Yeah, that definitely needs to be in the extended cut, like an extra feature or something on the Blu-ray.
I'm assuming there are some outtakes from that section that could be pretty hilarious.
Yeah, a
it's
little
just
bit.
a guess.
You want to know something in that scene that nobody really realizes that will blow people's minds? One of the actresses in that scene ended up being one of the hosts on the TV show The View.
Wait, what?
What?
You know the TV show The View?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Over the years, they've had different hosts.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
They're not all
interesting.
the original ones that were there at the beginning.
Sure, of course.
One of them was an actress or a woman named Jenna Diabella. And she was, of course, at that time, she hadn't done The View. This is back in 2003. So she played assistant nurse Nipplesuk in that scene and ended up becoming a big host on The View.
How do we not get that name?
Yeah, Jenna Diabella.
I need to pay more attention to these credits. At the end.
He was a host on The View. I'm serious.
That is
Wow,
incredible.
I'm looking at it right now. I mean,
yeah.
she is right there in the
You
list.
see, I'm
She's
not
right.
lying, right?
Yeah.
I'm not lying.
No, not at all. That is
You got
fantastic.
Raven Simone, Megan McCain, Jenna Diabella, right in the list right there. All right. Wow.
From Hair of the Dog as one of the nurses.
Well, if you still needed another reason to get this movie on October 2nd, I think there it is. What else do you need? Get you a piece of history. You could say you saw him before.
Save the hype for the very end. That's how we do it.
That's how you do it. Gruesome Threesome is coming out October 2nd. It will be on VOD. You can also keep up with it on Facebook, Instagram. I think you have pages and accounts for them, your own accounts as well. Do you have anything on Twitter, or is it just Facebook and Instagram?
I'm on Twitter too. My Twitter is MantaRay16.
Okay, perfect.
Right.
So at MantaRay16 to keep following up with that, so you'll see whenever that. This episode is coming out before the movie, obviously because you're listening to it now. But just make sure you let them know we sent you if you do. And
by the way, just to let your listeners know, anybody that pre-orders the movie between now and October 2nd, they will be sent 2 alternate versions of the poster that no one has ever seen by digital. So you'll actually see 2 different alternate choices that we decided not to go with, but they're still pretty freaking cool. And they're pretty gory and everything. Yeah. And also, anyone who orders the movie, they also will get free, this is before the 2nd or after the 2nd, they'll get 2 free documentaries. One of them is called Walking Down the Evil Streets of Stock. Mm-hmm. It's a 79-minute doc that has interviews with me, Serena Lee. You'll actually go into her dressing room. You'll see her behind the scenes. You'll see how we made the film. That's almost like another feature, 79 minutes. Yeah. You'll also get a 24-minute documentary, how we made Hair of the Dog. Both of those for the same price, you get everything.
That's awesome.
Okay. Yeah. Very cool.
That's awesome. If you had told me that it was going to be Strap-on Nurses 2 as well, I would have.
That's you. You're missing.
I'd have bought it again. I'd have been like, I'm getting one for me and one for me and one for my friends. That's all right. Hey, but I get it. You got to save something for the eventual Blu-ray. There's the 20th anniversary, the collectors. The
special edition.
Yeah, you got to always keep a little something back. So I get it.
Yeah, and your listeners and watchers should also be on the lookout for Devil's 5.
Yes,
it's going to be coming out by a big distributor out in LA called Random Media. It'll be on iTunes everywhere, and that's going to be coming out, I believe, like maybe 5 or 6 months from now. So in the new year.
Yeah, the trailers for that look really good. You can see them on YouTube. They look real slick. I think Abandoned is one of the ones that's in there, right?
Yeah, so I directed Abandoned. Yeah. I directed what's called The Devil's 5, which is the wraparound.
Okay.
That's the thing that holds the whole film together.
Yep.
And it's throughout. So it goes like from wraparound to Abandoned to Don't Say These, back to the wraparound, to Don't Say These Words, back to the wraparound, to Choke, back to the wraparound, to Stash, and then it finished with the wraparound. So I directed the wraparound, Abandon, and Stash.
Yeah, I just wrote in my show notes here. I mean, I thought Abandon looks slick from the just the trailer. So I'm very excited to see that. So yeah, I will be eagerly awaiting the release of Devil's 5 as well. But absolutely check out Gruesome Threesome. Go make sure to hit up and follow, like, subscribe to all the socials. Yeah, Terry, I mean, it's been awesome to talk with you. We've had a great time. Really, yeah. It's very cool, you know, to see someone who is doing something because they're passionate about it. It's, you know, kind of chasing what you love. And that's awesome. It's very inspiring. Really enjoy talking with you. So thank you for coming on and sharing your movie with us and chatting about it, man.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate everything, guys, the time and the love for my work and just for being horror fans. I mean, it's so cool when we can all talk together. The way I look at it, we're kind of like a family, and that doesn't mean exclusive. We can bring new people in. And anything that will support independent horror filmmaking, that's the best thing we can do, because truthfully, we need that in the world, because Hollywood horror filmmaking is not really cutting the cheese right now.
Yep, absolutely. Very much so. All right. Well, thank you so much again. Nate, where can they find us?
You can find us, as always, at TX Pod Massacre on Twitter, Texas Podcast Massacre on Instagram and Facebook. Send us an email, texaspodcastmassacre@gmail.com. Give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or your other podcast platforms. Put a movie in there. We'll put it on the list. Mitch is still waiting for Human Centipede.
God damn, I'm not waiting for Human Centipede.
But when it happens, I will be there. We might have to watch this together somehow. We're gonna have to get a projector in the backyard.
We're gonna break quarantine.
No, get a projector in the backyard. We'll be 10 feet away. I will still be talking trash to you. You'll be able to hear it through the mask, no problem. It'll be great.
I'm getting a BB gun and just shooting you the entire time.
Worth it. Absolutely worth it for me. And check us out. We have a bunch of cool episodes coming up in the future.
Yeah, got a lot of fun stuff. I mean, we're getting into the horror, the most wonderful time of the year, October.
Exactly.
So it's great. They will have his pumpkin spice lattes, I assume, and that's how you know it's horror's in the air and the aroma of pumpkin spice everywhere.
In my house, when you're getting about September time frame. When the Halloween vinyl goes in the record player for the original Halloween soundtrack.
Absolutely.
Once I put that in the record player the first time, sometime in September, that's when it really starts for me.
Yeah. Go ahead,
can I say the best time of the year?
Of course.
Sure.
Yes, I love it.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's the greatest. And in Texas, we really appreciate when it's not 105 degrees. So if that can all happen at one time, it's magic. It's magical for us.
Yeah. So. Yeah. Like Christmas, I never even get that cold. It's always afterwards. So that's why October is just when it's cooler. It's that initial cool. Because then you're just pissed off in December because it's still hot. No, Terry, once again, thank you so much. From all of us here at Texas Podcast Massacre, thank you so much for tuning in. And just keep telling yourself, it's only a movie. Good night.
Thank you, guys. Good night.
Thank you.